Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, straight game TV. We up in here. I had to gather the information before I could expound on it. Let's go. Waiting for some folks to come up in here. Let's get it. Tupac estate gives Drake 24 hours to remove the AI generated verse of Tupac Shakur off of the internet. It received over 1 million streams. Received over 1 million streams. The Tupac estate saying it's disrespectful. And dissing Kendrick Lamar, who's been a staunch supporter of Tupac and his legacy over the years. The Tupac estate saying basically it is disrespectful that Drake would use a AI generated version of Tupac. Sean Ali, Jim Dell, Juicy Goosey, Bebe, Arizona in the building. So yeah, the hot news within the last few hours, the Tupac estate going through high-powered lawyer Howard King in Beverly Hills issued a cease and desist letter to Drake after he generated a AI version of a verse of Tupac Shakur, in which Tupac Shakur did not write. We know that because Tupac Shakur is deceased. We also know that it was a verse in which Kendrick Lamar was the target of the diss, if you will, and a few other people. The Tupac estate basically issued a cease and desist letter to Drake requesting the removal of the tailor-made freestyle, basically the Kendrick Lamar diss track, the rapper unconventionally released, which features a verse that is generated from it's an AI rendition, if you will. And this is the problem with the AI situation. It's like, understanding, Tupac and who he was as a person, just as a rapper. And I think a lot of you guys could understand that just from watching the videos and, hearing him speak. Tupac was not with no fake shit. He was not with no, it was just real, or it wasn't what it was supposed to be at that particular time. I think I don't think that Drake meant anything truly disrespectful, but I think in Drake buying the Tupac's ring, spending like $1 million on the ring and everything, I think that was a marvelous move from him, having one of those one of one mementos of Tupac. But going at Kendrick Lamar with a AI generated Tupac verse was I think was irresponsible. And from most people's perspective, they would say it was disrespectful. But like I said, I think it was disrespecting Tupac's legacy from that particular standpoint, based on the fact that the relationship that Kendrick Lamar has with the estate, the relationship and the props and the respect that he's shown Tupac over the years. I think the shock value of what that was well taken. I think it brings publicity to Tupac. But like I said, in the association of Drake with Tupac and Drake not having ever met Tupac, not knowing Tupac, then would should I say superimpose an AI generated verse of Tupac in his songs was not well thought out, if you will. So basically, today, April 24th, the lawyer, the estate's lawyer, should I said, Mr. Howard King, you know, basically the letter is alleging that Drake used the AI Tupac unauthorized, and they are basically saying that it is a flagrant violation of Tupac's publicity and the estate's legal rights. It also asserts, this is what the estate is saying. The estate is saying it also asserts that the act was very disrespectful to Tupac's legacy, and they are threatening legal action if the song is not taken down within 24 hours. You know, the crazy part about this is they didn't even have to issue a cease and desist. They could have just sued. You know, a lot of times, you know, it all depends. I think with Drake's relationship with Universal, I think probably the relationship that Mr. King and the estate's, you know, relationship with the business, I think they chose to, you know, offer, or should I say, extend an olive branch and saying, hey, you know what, take this down, man, because yeah, it's not cool at all. And so they're basically threatening legal action if the song is not removed or taken down off of the internet, period, within 24 hours. But I think that's a little bit too late now, because most of the people have already downloaded the song and, you know, probably made it a part of their personal collection, if you will. And so I think the damage has already been done. The song has been downloaded, or should I say streamed. You know, Mr. King, Howard King, said that song has been streamed over 1 million times and sparked a daily media uproar across major national press outlets. You know, and that's been basically what it was, this ongoing thing with, you know, J. Cole apologizing to Kendrick Lamar, and then Drake getting into it with Kendrick Lamar and releasing this song, Tailor Made, and then using Tupac, you know, to basically bolster the publicity of the song Tailor Made. He also used a AI version of Snoop, if you will, because I don't think that, you know, if he went to Snoop, I don't think Snoop would want to participate in something like that, from the perspective, and then going at Kendrick Lamar based on his relationship, Long Beach, Compton, Dr. Dre, you know, TDE, and the whole 9 yards, for whatever it is. Like I said, the bigger picture is, I don't know if it's a publicity stunt, you know, but I would take not, because like I said, once again, you know, you got you know, high powered lawyers issuing cease and desist letters, if you will. And, you know, they usually don't, you know, take that lightly from that perspective. So basically, you know, Howard King is a lawyer for the Tupac estate, basically said the song had garnered over 1 million streams, basically sparked a daily media uproar across major national press outlets and popular entertainment websites and publications. Howard King also expressed the estate's disapproval of the unauthorized use of Tupac's vocals to slight Kendrick Lamar. So they're basically saying, you know, they felt like it was a problem for Drake to use an unauthorized AI generated version of Tupac's vocals to diss Kendrick Lamar. Basically, they're saying that, you know, Kendrick Lamar is a close friend to the estate who has consistently shown respect for Tupac and his legacy, both publicly and privately. You know, so I think, and then like I said, once again, you know, people are saying that Drake, they're saying Drake, you know, with this freestyle, it was like that came out of nowhere. You know, people that want to choose sides, they're basically saying that Drake was that he's the GOAT now. You know, Drake is the GOAT, and so on and so forth from that perspective. Then you have Rick Ross jump into the situation, him making his diss track, if you will. Basically, they're saying the tailor-made freestyle also features an artificial vocals of Snoop, who basically they're saying Snoop went on, you know, he went on Instagram and was like, yo, they did what, he did what, and so on. So like I say, Snoop can handle his business according to how he wants to, you know, deal with that, being the fact that he's still alive and he can, you know, address that, you know, from his own perspective. But like I said, as far as the Tupac's estate, they saying, hold on, man, pump your brakes on that. You know what I mean? Not with Tupac. And like I said, for the most people who are really staunch Tupac fans, I don't think that they really like that either. The fact that you know, like I told you guys before, you know, a lot of people like to use Tupac, and you know, that didn't really know Tupac. Suge Knight that spoke on that just recently. Also, Tupac's father, when I interviewed him, Billy Garland basically spoke on that also. If you go over to Art of Dialogue and check out the interview that I did with Tupac's father, actually the first interview, and he specifically addressed that, how rappers, who not really talking about anything, who are not really saying anything, tend to use Tupac's name in regards to how good they are or trying to bolster what they're doing. I don't think that Drake needs that from that perspective. Drake is, you know what I mean, international superstar. Let's be clear about that. But yeah, this is not a good look at this particular time. I wonder what you guys think about it. Like I said, in the last couple of hours, it came out that and Streets is watching, say Pockets up there, like, take that down. I wonder, like I said, I don't know what Drake's financial status is. I won't even try to anticipate that or pocket watch that, right? But I just think that overall, when you talking about dissing and the situation that led to Tupac's death, and how that track started off, it was a misrepresentation of who Tupac is, who Tupac was, and like Drake not really being affiliated or associated with Tupac. I think it was ill-advised, but I think it garnered enough publicity, and to go at Kendrick Lamar like that using Tupac, I don't think that was a good move. Because like I said, if Drake is having some kind of lyrical challenge with Kendrick Lamar, then I think Drake should be able to stand on his own too, because it's already questionable now whether Drake writes his own lyrics anyway. People have been questioning that. So for a real MC or a guy who's in hip hop who understands and what that means, it's like, Drake is now using two icons in Snoop Dogg and Tupac to try to bolster his credibility as that guy who we know he has not been, as far as challenging other rappers of the lyrical prowess of a Kendrick Lamar, if you will. And so the state basically saying, yo, look, Drake, you got 24 hours to take that song down, or we're gonna sue you. And like I said before, they didn't have to give him any kind of warning or anything like that. They could have just filed a lawsuit, But I think the relationships, like, if you understand the business, the relationship says, Howard King has done a lot of work with Universal. Universal basically just did a deal with Drake not too long ago, in which he got a lot of money. And like I said, they are heavily invested in Drake. And I don't think that they really wanted that to go that way. But so we're gonna see what happens. Like I said, I know a lot of you guys probably heard the song. I mean, I thought it was, I was like, it didn't really sound like Tupac to me. And like I said, once again, I don't know how they even generate the AI voices and things like that for Tupac and so on and so forth. But yeah, I just thought it was ill-advised, man. It was ill-advised. So I wonder what Drake is thinking right now. Like I said, my suggestion would be this: use your own, go at him yourself. Like I said, once again, go at Kendrick Lamar yourself, or Rick Ross yourself, or you know what I mean? We heard that Rick Ross, calling Drake, white boy and white boy this and white boy that, you know what I mean? So Rick Ross is truly coming at it from his perspective and his standpoint on how he felt about Drake from that perspective. But yeah, that Kendrick Lamar and the estate has so much respect for Kendrick Lamar, and like I said, Kendrick Lamar's relationship with Dr. Dre, with Interscope, with Universal, and all of those things. They saying basically, nah, take that shit down. We simply not having it. You're not gonna use Tupac and then not pay us or not ask us, can you use Tupac? Basically, the tailor-made freestyle, like I said, featured in artificial vocals of Snoop, and then like overall to the Tupac legacy. You know what I mean? Just imagine if you don't have social media, and then they had a thing with Michael Jackson a few years ago. It was this guy who could sing like Michael Jackson, right? And actually, Sony was sued for songs they had put out, basically saying that it was Michael Jackson, and to come to find out, it really wasn't Michael Jackson. It was this guy singing that he sounded like Michael Jackson. This is the problem, right? And Michael Jackson has left enough music behind where that would be unnecessary, because Michael Jackson was a polarizing figure in himself. That would be also tantamount to them coming out, if Prince didn't have a whole bunch of music in his vault, when he died, of stuff that he didn't release, right? Them trying to find somebody who sounded like Prince, or trying to generate uh, AI voices and versions of Prince and bringing it out. Totally disrespectful. This is the what people usually call the culture vulture mentality of, and it goes to show you how important the art form is, how important. So if any artist is checking this out right now, Drake using Tupac's voice in an AI manner, right, just goes to show you how important Tupac and his impact was on the hip hop culture, and how much he is truly valued, that Drake would even consider going and say, you know what, let's do an AI generated version of Tupac. And then not only that, the song actually starts off with Tupac on the AI generated Tupac version or voice or whatever you want to call it on there. It didn't start off with Drake. You understand what I'm saying? So Tupac's image, likeness, voice, vocals, persona, um, legacy, all of those things are so heavy still that Drake would actually start off a diss track with an AI generated version of Tupac, and then in which Drake would rap last. That just goes to show you how heavy Tupac is. And then once it hit the internet, people saying, "Yo, oh, Drake used an AI generated version of Tupac voice and on this verse and so on and so forth," which I really didn't think. I could hear the sounding similar of Tupac, but it wasn't really Tupac, and that thing that he would offer, that authenticity that he would offer from that perspective, right? Um, Basically, the song was released on the Push Up Rappers Instagram last Friday, if you will. So yeah, April 19th, and has not been released on any streaming platforms. But like I said, once the track, you know what I mean, tailor-made freestyle, once it hit the internet, people downloaded it. Actually, yeah, it's crazy. It said the cease and desist letter brings attention to the growing concern within the ongoing rap feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. The concern revolves around the potential impact of artificial intelligence and voice cloning, right? What I'm just saying now, cloning a rapper's voice, trying to make it look like that, look like it's him, and people actually trying to profit off of it, and the artist receiving no money at all, or the state receiving no compensation or benefit from it at all, if you will. Basically said the concern revolves around the potential impact of artificial intelligence and voice cloning on hip hop culture. Once again, like I said, the culture, I call it culture vultures, for people who are now trying to take and use AI generated versions of Tupac, creating these songs. And like I said, in which, once again, a lot of the people who are creating these songs never knew Tupac. They never met him, never was in his presence, or none of those things. It's simply from a perspective of clout chasing, if you will, using Tupac's name, trying to garner publicity, trying to garner credibility, from that perspective. It has no substance or attachment to substance at all. It's strictly superficial, if you will, right? And they say basically specifically focus on how it may affect the authenticity of artistic projects, particularly in the terms of lyrical ability. You hear that? In terms of lyrical ability, right? So they're basically saying that, yo, look, a lot of these rappers who using this AI stuff, right? They really don't have, the skills or the skill set of a Tupac Shakur. And that's what I'm saying in Drake from that perspective. But if you hear the song, the Tailor Made joint, he starts it off with Tupac, with the AI generated Tupac verse. Tupac ain't got nothing to do with the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. So where does Tupac fit into that? He doesn't. And like I said, at that particular time, I don't think Drake needed to use Tupac AI generated or Snoop AI generated. I think his level of celebrity, right, and him saying, people can't get booked out of the states, but he's an international superstar. He in Japan, and all of those things. I think that I think it was ill advised. And from what the estate is saying, it was disrespectful to Tupac's legacy for him to do that. But like I said, once again, we're talking lyrical ability. As we've seen with hip hop as of recent, there's not a whole bunch of lyricism there anymore. It's just a whole bunch of, you know, microwave music, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? Artists coming out, and I'm not talking specifically about Drake. Drake got hits. He got some hits. So let's be clear. You know what I mean? But the question has always been, does Drake write his own lyrics? Right? And so, like I say, some people say, well, it doesn't matter. Some people say, it does matter. Some people say, if you want to be considered one of the greatest of all times, it should matter, because that is what is in the argument of the greatest of all time. You have to write your own lyrics, right? You can go performer of all time. You know what I mean? And that's like with Prince and Michael Jackson. That same thing. Well, we know Prince played every instrument. We know Prince wrote all of his songs. We know, who Prince was from an early childhood. We also know that Michael Jackson, who he was. Michael Jackson didn't necessarily write all his own songs, but Michael Jackson was yet still an icon, one of the greatest performers. So when you match that up, who was better, Prince or Michael Jackson? It all depends on how you're looking at it. So this AI generated thing, once again, when people want to give up that, or should I say, create that argument, basically it says, as AI has become more involved in the creative process, there is apprehension about its influence on rap music, on particularly our culture, the culture that we created, the people who are involved in hip hop from the pioneers up until now, which has traditionally been driven by individual creativity from back in the day, whether it was Public Enemy, whether it was KRS-One, whether it was Big Daddy Kane, whether it was Eric B. and Rakim, whether it was EPMD, whether it was Cool G Rap, whether it was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, whether it was Tupac, whether it was Biggie. Once again, what made hip hop unique in itself is everybody had their own style, right? And so now with this AI generated thing, it's like you're trying to create something that was truly authentic. You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to take Tupac and mix him in with something that he wasn't here to see, was not a invention during the time that he lived, right? And now it's taking and it's kind of sucking from the authenticity and his individual creativity of the music and the things that he left behind. And the estate saying that Drake was very disrespectful in doing that. Not only doing that, but then using Tupac, his name and his voice likeness, if you will, in the AI generated thing to go at Kendrick Lamar. And I would have to agree with that. Like I said, I don't think Drake meant to, he wasn't facetious. He wasn't basically trying to do that. He just thought that, I guess for him, it was whatever he thought, the creative process. If I do this, it'll add shock. The only thing I can see with that is it's adding shock value, right? And people are like, oh, he used Tupac, right? But not really the disclosure, should I say, the disclosure coming with it, basically saying, you know what, this not really Tupac. It had nothing to do with Tupac, but this is AI generated, right? And they go on to say, this has led to mixed emotions regarding AI generated works, with a general reluctance toward technologically curating lyrics within the competitive landscape of hip hop rap's element. And notice, this is the only culture where that has been truly done. Once again, we created this culture to be a $1 billion industry. Remember, Biggie said, "Daha, daha." They never thought hip hop would make it this far, based on the Rapping Dukes. When they came out, remember they came up with the Rapping Duke. It was like daha, daha, kind of making fun of hip hop, right? And then Biggie came with with Juicy. He was like daha, daha. They never thought hip hop would make it this far. Now, once again, now that it's been popular, the most popular should I say genre of music in the world, used from everything from television commercials, movies, and so on, right? Now we see, here comes the pillaging of hip hop through some AI generated, and now they're trying to make money off of our legends and brothers that are no longer here anymore, using this AI generated thing. So I think that the estate was within its right to handle its business and do what it did. Basically, they're saying legally, copyright issues are a key concern as AI technology refers to copyrighted works as a training knowledge base. Listen to what I'm saying because it's very important. As a training knowledge base, this is at the center of Tupac's estate's concern. Basically, their lawyer, Howard King, questioned in the letter how the sound alike was created and the persons or company that created it, including all recordings and other data scrapped or used. You understand what I'm saying? So the sounding like of Tupac's voice, if you will, right? And then, well, who was the actual rapper rapping it? How did they create that from that perspective? And I know how it's done. They just take a sample of the voice, and the voice is then kind of repeated over the track, the tone, the everything to make it sound like Tupac, right? So, but where was that captured from? All of those things in question. So now, once again, if it was captured from, another song that Tupac did, and how the sound alike was created and the persons or company that created it, including all recordings and other data scrapped, scrapped or used. You understand what I'm saying? So what they used or what they didn't use. They say if the AI technology uses copyrighted works of Tupac to respond to prompts involving the likeness of the late artist without approval from his estate, the estate is likely to miss out on receiving a form of monetary compensation. And that's what I was just saying. You know what I mean? They're not being compensated. Tupac's estate not being compensated. His family not being compensated, right? The only person that's being compensated or would be compensated and it would generate any kind of interest for, and Snoop is not actually being compensated. I don't know how that worked out with Snoop. I don't know what kind of conversation him and Drake might have had in regards to that. You know what I mean? After it happened. But like I said, that wasn't Tupac. And then the estate basically saying, we don't want nothing to do with this fake Tupac thing. Because then in turn, let's say for instance, the estate said, you know what, all right, go ahead, use that, but just give Tupac the credit for that verse. And they say, well, we're gonna split it 3 ways. Snoop get his credit for the verse, Pac get his credit for the verse. And if the estate wrote along with that, then that would, that would totally turn off everybody. Now here we go with a bunch of Tupac verses from an AI generated situation that's not Tupac. That's not the feeling, loving, intense energy of who Tupac was, essentially the authentic Tupac Shakur that we knew him to be, good, bad, indifferent, like, dislike, and all of the other contradictions of Tupac Shakur. It's just simply not the same. So I think that, if I don't know what you guys think, you can chime in the chat. Tell me what you think about the estate actually filing this cease and desist letter. Do you think they were right? Or do you think they were a little bit too heavy-handed and shouldn't be taking it so personal? Tell me what you think in the chat, right? They basically saying if the AI technology uses copyrighted works of Tupac's to respond to prompts involving the likeness of the late artist without approval from his estate, the estate is likely to miss out on receiving a form of monetary compensation. Basically, the lawyer says, Howard King says, also mentioned potential violation of publicity laws, as the act could encroach on the protection of Shakur's likeness. However, publicity laws mainly pertain to images and not artificially created media. King finds the act so objectionable that it qualifies as a violation under the California publicity laws and believes it promoted a false impression. Listen now, what I was just saying, a false impression of the estate's approval and Tupac's endorsement of the artificial clone vocals. I just said that. If it appears that Tupac's estate, if they didn't file the cease or desist letter, I would believe to be think that they was cool with it. And they could say, you know what? Out of that song, gives Tupac 25% of the publishing and the writers. Drake takes 25% or 33 and a third. Let's go 33 and a third. Snoop, okay with them giving them taking that, what's the name? And I'm not saying that Snoop was or wasn't. I'm just saying hypothetically, when you divvy up a song and the actual publishing and production and all of those writers publishing and things like that. Let's say the estate say, okay, yeah, Drake, go ahead, give Tupac 33 and a third, the estate 33 and a third. Say hypothetically Snoop agreed to a 33 and a third, which I'm not saying that he did, but hypothetically, right? 30, and then Drake take 33 and a third, and whoever produced the track, right? If it appeared that the estate agreed with that, it would be a total blemish on Tupac's legacy, period. And then I'll be questioning, like, what's going on over there, man? What they doing? You know what I mean? Because like I said, Tupac's legacy is rich and authentic enough where they wouldn't have to do nothing like that. So I'm gonna say that again. Howard King, the attorney for Tupac's estate, King finds the action of using a AI-generated vocals of Tupac in dissing Kendrick Lamar, right? On the tailor-made freestyle, King finds the act so objectionable that it qualifies as a violation under California publicity laws and believes it promoted a false impression of Tupac's estate approval and Tupac's endorsement of the artificially cloned vocals. That's a fact. And they basically saying, nah, we didn't approve that. We don't agree with that. You got 24 hours to take that down. Drake's Instagram still hosts the 3-minute and 51-second diss track and has yet to be removed. The song has resurfaced on audio-friendly platforms like YouTube through various channels, cleverly disguised as lyric videos, if you will, right? Where they play the song and then the lyrics on there played, showing what was said on the diss track. We all know what that is. Creating additional work for Tupac Shakur's estate. However, the arrival of a cease and desist letter has altered the dynamics of the rap showdown. Yeah. So what you guys think about that, man? What you think about that? You say, AC Capone say Pac would never do a song like that with Drake. Yeah, Pac wouldn't. Yeah, he wouldn't do no, especially like that. Tupac was, Tupac. If anything, Tupac would be going at Drake. Tupac was fierce about, the top spot. Tupac actually went at Ice Cube. You know what I mean? And talked about when Ice Cube did bow down, when Tupac was locked up. He talked about that. And so, yeah. No, I don't think the estate does that. They don't need to. There's no bag to be had. There's no bag to be had. You know what I mean? And for a million views for a 3-minute song, there's really no bag to be had. Once again, if you were somebody and you were as popular as Tupac, once again, Tupac is a legend in itself. Like I said, he doesn't need Drake or anybody else. Tupac solidified his legacy before Drake was even thought of. Let's put it that way. I don't know how old Drake is, but Tupac solidified his legacy before Drake was even thought of. And to then take a AI version or create some AI version of Tupac, wherever they got the sound of the voice from, all of those things are in question. So a lot of people who don't really understand the nuances of the music business and copyrights and the rights to publicity, you know what I mean? From that perspective, as far as Tupac's estate, they're within their right to protect Tupac's legacy. Most people be like, well, they ain't doing nothing over there at the Tupac estate to try to protect his legacy. No, basically, this is what they're doing. They're saying Drake has 24 hours to remove that AI generated. And like I said, this could lead up to a big fight or a bigger question as to 37, Drake 37, as to, it could lead up to a bigger fight as to what that means. But like I said, if you understand the rights to publicity, then yeah. And not only that, but Tupac's name was also used basically in the track. So, and it's not Tupac. So that's basically false advertising, if you will. Yeah, but like I said, I'm not going to question Drake's ability to do what he want to do creatively, right? I like some of his songs. I'm not going to, that's not what this is about. This is about when he uses Tupac Shakur in his diss against Kendrick Lamar, Drake did not know Tupac Shakur. You understand what I'm saying? And so what he should have did was just stay far away from that, and like I said, we know for a fact that Drake couldn't go call Snoop up and ask Snoop to participate in a diss track against Kendrick Lamar. We know that for a fact. So that in itself also was misleading when you think about that. You know what I mean? I think Drake has always, since the song started from the bottom, now we hear, I think that after everybody kind of questioned him even starting from the bottom, or did he really come from the bottom? I think that's always been a thing with him as far as having that street credibility. And I think putting Tupac on, the Tupac AI generated lyrics on there, and like I say, even buying Tupac's ring, the ring that the crown, ruby, and diamond ring, even buying Tupac's ring, I think, him wanting to be a little bit closer to Tupac, a little bit closer to what that was, because that authenticity, I don't care how much money you have or how much money they give you, right? If you really didn't come from that thing, it does not make you that thing. Like I say, character and integrity, you can't buy it. I don't care how much money they give you. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that's always been a problem for Drake, from some, perspective in his career, but it shouldn't be. Like, yo, ride in your lane, you good, But like I said, what Tupac brought to the game is we've seen, if you was, for the people who are old enough to have been around doing when Pac was living and seen all of the things that he got involved with, the thing in New York, the being shot, the putting the finger up while he was on the gurney, leaving on the gurney after he had got shot. All of those things are legendary. You cannot, let me tell you something, man. And I try to tell people this all the time, and this is the reason why Drake wanted to create the, I feel like he wanted to create the AI generated. All the things that about Tupac, there is no other rapper. There's no other rapper. There is no other rapper who was authentically genuine as Tupac. And I'm talking about sharing the hardships with his mama, her being on drugs, being shot, going to jail for something that he really didn't do, enduring that, even the false accusations that are being made today about Tupac, and from numerous people about numerous conversations, if you will, right? Once again, the situation down in Atlanta involving the two off-duty officers, right? All of those situations right there are authentically, those were not publicity stunts. Not like nowadays, they do stuff for publicity stunts, and we're gonna diss each other, and we're gonna make Kanye go against 50 Cent and seem like they're going at each other for record sales and who record sells the most. Tupac was involved with none of that, right? Everything was what it was supposed to be, even when he got out of jail. Like I said, once again, when he got out of jail, the anticipation was there based on the fact that he had survived being shot 5 times at Quad Studios, right? Coming out on the gurney with the middle finger up. We saw that. That's real life. Like, how many people you would see that have seen? I don't think there's a picture on earth of nobody doing that on earth after they've been shot 5 times. They bandaged it all up, and they coming down in the gurney, and the photographers there, the news reporters and the photographer people are there, and people are saying something to him, and Tupac just throw up the middle finger, like, fuck y'all. You understand what I'm saying? Most people will be scared for their life and hoping that they survive. Am I bleeding out? Am I doing this, that, and the other? But not Tupac. Once again, when you learn this information, people want to be that authentic person. They want that credibility, right? And all of those things from that perspective. And so there we have why we have with the situation that we have involving Tupac. This is not the first AI generated track of Tupac. You know what I mean? No, the world didn't have to be ready for Tupac. Tupac was who he was. And like I said, that's why we having this conversation. That's why Drake put Tupac on the beginning of the diss song. So I'm sorry, a AI generated vocal voice of Tupac Shakur on the beginning of the diss song Tailor Made, and trying to incorporate Tupac's likeness, his vocals involving that track because of how authentic Tupac was. And Drake knew that it would generate more publicity and get people talking about it if it was just Drake alone. You know what I mean? And so when we deal with that situation, now we got Rick Ross, him calling Drake white boy. You got Chris Brown going at Quavo, from that perspective, and I like to, and I don't know if Chris Brown wrote his verse, but Chris Brown, you know what I mean? He stood tall on it. Wasn't nobody else on the record when Chris Brown dissing Quavo, right? Being able to stand on your own if you're going to diss somebody is very important, because now your credibility is in question. So I think with them bringing the attention that, cease and desist using that, because that's not really a Tupac verse, for all of the people who don't know what AI is and AI generated vocals is, for Tupac's estate to come out and say that to Drake, I don't think that's a good look. I think he should have just stayed the course and, threw out what he threw out. If people caught on to it, they did. If they didn't, then they didn't. Yeah, absolutely iconic 83. Star power is not, star power is an understatement. We talking about being an icon. You know what I mean? Truly living who you were at the time that he lived it, and didn't question anything. Just did what he was supposed to do at that particular time. I think that's the thing that makes Tupac different. So yeah, but the estate basically saying, yo, Drake got 24 hours. So we're gonna see, because like I say, they're basically saying that the song is still up over on Drake's Instagram, if you will, or one of the Instagrams that he uses, if you will. So we're gonna see. Like I said, I don't think Drake was being, trying to be disrespectful or nothing like that. I think that he wanted the shock value of the publicity that would generate, and him having an AI generated vocal of Tupac on a diss song that was geared towards Kendrick Lamar. But the Tupac's estate, like, nah, you know what? Kendrick Lamar is a friend of the estate, and we're not going to tolerate that. You're not going to use Tupac, number one. Number two, there's no monetary value or anything to be generated for Tupac's estate, his family, or otherwise, and them doing that. Like I said, so, we're going to see what happened with this, man. Like I said, I had to come and make this video. And in other news from that perspective, yeah, that was what that was, and that was what that is. And we're gonna see, guess what happens with this tomorrow. 24 hours, y'all. 24 hours. So y'all pay attention to whether Drake and them take that diss down of using Tupac's AI generated, what's the name? No, like I said, it's not even with the J. Cole situation. I mean, I understand what it is. A lot of times, man, what people don't understand it is, that's why the estate didn't go and sue Drake. Just like they could have just went and sued. They didn't have to file no cease and desist. But based on the industry relationships in the politics, I understand why J. Cole would then apologize to Kendrick Lamar, right? Once people start talking about how somebody's getting the best of somebody in a rap diss or any kind of diss, the powers that be at the label feel like that's taken away from the credibility and the popularity of the artist that they signed and have millions invested in. So when J. Cole bows out and apologizes, believe that's not J. Cole's decision and J. Cole's decision alone. You know what I mean? That's coming from the executive saying, hey, you know what? This is not good for business. Unfortunately, yeah. But I don't. But see, Tom Wiley is the executive of the state, right? He doesn't really control the estate from that perspective. That also comes from Tupac's sister Setua and all of the other people who basically, has a say so. Like, nah, they using my brother's name. We not getting paid for that, and so on and so on and so forth. Yeah, absolutely, Caleb. Let's see. Yeah, like I said, I'm happy that they are doing it too. Like once again, Drake didn't know Tupac. So in that situation, and anybody that you'll hear a lot of people come out, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna hear a lot of people come out be like, I don't think that that was bad to look, for Drake. People that want to have relationships with Drake, but I think that Drake would appreciate the honesty and saying, hey, you know what, that wasn't really a good look. You know what I mean? And from that perspective, yeah, take it down, because once again, he had no relationship with Tupac. He did not know Tupac Shakur. Period. Bottom line. And even if a person did know Tupac and had a relationship with Tupac, I would think that would even make them pause even more about thinking about using some kind of AI generated voice of Tupac, because they really knew the real Tupac. And so they would know immediately, like, that's some cornball shit right there. If they would have used that, AI generated verse of Tupac. You got people, like I said, once again, looking for publicity. They don't have any real lyrical content. They don't really have real situations. Like, I'll give you a prime example. Like when Tupac wrote Hit 'Em Up, right? This is how serious it was. When Tupac wrote Hit 'Em Up, he really did live Hit 'Em Up. There really was a real situation involving him doing Hit 'Em Up, right? When he dropped All Eyes on Me and he dropped Ambitions as a Rider and all of those songs and all of the stuff that he was saying on Machiavelli and all of those were real situations that involved real events that had real consequences and ramifications for what he was saying at that time. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the thing that makes the thing that Drake did so inauthentic. It was like, you're gonna use Tupac, and then it made it sound like that was like where he was coming from. This little AI generated thing, it made it sound like that's where he was coming from, and it's like, nah, So that part of the game is where I think people got it messed up at. When you do that, and it's like, no, like, hold on, like Tupac had a real beef. He had a real situation. He had thought people had set him up, and was paranoid at that particular time, basically from actually being shot. You know what I mean? And so from that perspective, like I said, even Drake right now, and I guarantee you, Drake got a bunch of people around him, saying, man, it wasn't all that bad. Once again, people that are eating off of Drake, versus somebody gonna say, nah, man, we shouldn't do that. That's Tupac. Nah, don't do that. You know what I mean? And so that's the problem that we have. You got a lot of people who people would consider yes men, instead of people who would say, you know what, instead of being scared of being cut off or cut from the food chain, or or whatever have you, they would say, no, man, you know what, nah, that's not a good look. You know what I mean? Nah, that ain't a good look using Tupac like that. Because like I said, number one, he had no relationship. But I think based on the fact that he had bought Tupac's ring and he saw the publicity that actually got from him buying that ring from auction for $1 million, right? I think he thought that, oh, you know what? We use the, do the Tupac thing on the disc, it'll get, crazy publicity. And then what tells you that he didn't really think it through was that he used an AI generated version of Snoop when Snoop is still alive. And I'm sure Drake probably can get in touch with Snoop and ask him to appear on the track, but Snoop wouldn't do that against Kendrick Lamar. You know what I mean? Not they have too much in common and too many people that they know and respect from that perspective for Snoop to do something like that. So that part right there, I thought was disingenuous too. So, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, even Jay-Z, like I told y'all before, Jay-Z wouldn't be who he was if it wasn't for Tupac. Most people think I'm crazy when I say that. But like I said, if you were back during that time, and I've done videos on it with the information, the data, the CD sales, what it was back then to prove what that was. And that's a mere fact, not me just saying that. Like I said, when Jay-Z dropped Reasonable Doubt, I believe the album in the first week did about 45,000 copies from that perspective. Right. You know, and then when you talk about when Tupac died and on the beginning of the Machiavelli album, on the Machiavelli album, you know, he was saying Jay-Z of Hawaiian Sophie fame and all of that, right? People didn't know who Jay-Z was. Tupac's now dead. You know, the first week Machiavelli goes on to sell 600,000 units, right? So now Jay-Z was a proficient MC. You know, he was dope. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, without that, if Tupac dissed you, that was a big up. It wasn't nothing that, you know. Even with Mobb Deep, even Mobb Deep, gave Pac props, absolutely. Black Ice, you know what I mean. So when people understand and they know that, and they understand what that is and what that means, you know, I think Drake using Tupac's AI generated vocals or this fake vocals or whatever I want to call it fake vocals of Tupac was trying to and understanding that the Tupac had over the game, if you will. And so from that perspective, like I said, I mean, you know, I wouldn't say Jay-Z was trash. Like I said, everybody in their own right. Jay-Z was dope. No, don't get me wrong. Reasonable Doubt was nice. You know, all of those records that they was dropping, you know, Streets is Watching, that DVD, all of that was fire. I'm not gonna take that away from Jay-Z, but like I said, I'm talking about what it took to be a mainstream star and people start to pay attention to you. You know what I mean? You know, so like I said, at the end of the day. So like I said, we're gonna see what happens. Tupac Estate issues cease and desist letter to Drake saying, please take down that fake verse of Tupac, the imposter verse of Tupac on the tailor-made freestyle geared towards Kendrick Lamar. They don't approve of that. Like I said, for most people who true Tupac fans, they don't approve of it either. You know what I mean? So like I said, bump some real Tupac, if you will. You know what I mean? Go bump some real Tupac, because that's what the fans really love. You know what I mean? Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.